he'd be like moody and unreasonable. And I didn't think at that time he had an alcohol problem, but I just thought, well, that's his personality, or he's stressed at work. He started having all these medical problems like high blood pressure, prediabetes, swelling of the joints. It sounds funny, but like when you're a wife, like you just take each little medical problem and you deal with it. Oh, go see that specialist, or it must be this, or oh, that's a side effect of this, or so. And then what really started scaring me, he became really forgetful. And he was only in his mid-50s. He was starting to get really forgetful. And, he wanted to fix me. He thought I was all the problem. So he gave me this card, and he said, well, will you go to this? And it was SOS. And I was so open to anything. I'm like, I don't want to just be married. I want a great marriage, So I'm like, yeah, I'll go. So went, and it was at Horizon Church, I think it was. And so this one evening, I'll never forget, it changed my life, Debbie. Thank you. Sorry, I knew I'd start crying at some point. But first I'm going to read it again because it's so important. And I sat here just like you right now hearing this. And it all came together. It was so beautiful. It was truly the Holy Spirit. All of a sudden, these blinders came off of my eyes. And it's like, I just started putting all these pieces together. But I'm an alcoholic. It's going to get great. There's great news ahead. But as Debbie said, the verse is so important. It's a great verse, and you can apply it to a lot of things. But it says Matthew 18:15 through 17. And if your brother sins, go in and reprove him in private. And if he listens to you, you have won your brother. And I did. When I started seeing these, my husband's behaviors when we became an empty nester and it was getting clearer, I'd go to him and I'd say, like, are you drinking? Are you drinking too much? I make these comments, but when you're an alcoholic, it's just, you just make some excuse. And, I just like a positive person. I wanted to believe him. I just wanted to, just think, oh, okay, it's something else, So I was doing this first piece. And so when I sat here in the audience hearing this message, all of a sudden it dawned on me, it's like, oh my gosh, that Bible verse. I've been stuck on that first part of that Bible verse. I have not moved to the next phase. So the next part of the verse is, but if he does not listen to you, you take two or more with you, so that by the mouth of two or three witnesses, every fact may be confirmed. So that's when I knew. I thought, oh my God, it's got to go past you, Laura. It's time to do an intervention. And the beauty of it is once you know and the Holy Spirit is in you, it's the most surreal experience. I have never had more peace. That was a great thing. The next morning, I kid you not, and this is how powerful it can be, I woke up in the morning and I started the intervention. By the time he drove home, I don't work Fridays, by the way, and that was a blessing because I had a day to work in my home to make all the phone calls. By the time my husband drove down the driveway that same day, after I heard this message, the intervention was completely in place. First off intervention, we made it very quick. I started the conversation, and this is really hard to do. But, I said, we're here. It's like a circle of love. We're here because we love you, and it's clear you have a problem with drinking. And I want to grow old with you as your wife. You're not going to make it. And then each of them spoke. There were a lot of tears. But the whole thing was probably done in 20 minutes. And then, and then I came back around to me, and your husband had a wonderful piece of it. Just the work piece, don't worry, Greg, everything's going to be fine, and people won't know. I think that was a pivotal piece for my husband. I think the work piece is really important for husbands. So, and then it came back around to me, and I just said, here's this opportunity. Would you like to take advantage of it? Everything's ready. And he says, yes, I would. And he burst out crying. And the thing he said is, he says, that moment, I feel so much lifted off my shoulder. So you have to understand it. Sorry. Addicts, there's not one addict that wants to be an addict. It's such bondage, and there's so much shame. It's a horrible life, and if you're in that first phase of just asking them, or you're drinking too much, or whatever, they'll make all these excuses, but they don't want to be that way. They need help. So he literally, my husband's a hard laborer, so he just took a shower. We went in the car at that moment, and it was It was so kind that Greg's two sisters drove and I sat in the back. That's the other thing, when you drive to rehab, you do it immediately after this conversation. And don't drive alone. The exciting thing in October will be his 3 years of sobriety. He is a changed man.